When we started our teaching practice, we knew we would learn new things. But we didn't expect how much the school context could affect everything how students learn, how teachers teach, and how people feel inside a school. We visited two different schools during all our journeys. One was an urban secondary school in the city called Escuela Secundaria Técnica Industrial número 30. The other was a small rural primary school named Miguel Hidalgo, located in San Gregorio Zacapechpan. The secondary school was surrounded by a difficult environment. There was trash in the streets, bad smells, graffiti on the walls, and some signs of insecurity. Many students lived in nearby apartments, and we noticed that they were not very respectful or motivated. The school had very strict rules about uniforms, hair, and behavior, but the classrooms felt cold, silent, and disconnected. In the English classes, students were not speaking, not interacting, and not enjoying the lesson. The teacher never used English to communicate and didn't show much interest in the students' needs or emotions. There were no books, no activities, no games, just copying from the board. There was no intercultural awareness. Every student had to follow the same without support or understanding of their backgrounds. In the contrast, when we visited the Miguel Hidalgo Primary School, everything was different. The school was clean, calm, and peaceful. The students were kind, respectful, and happy. They were smiling, and the teacher welcomed us with a warmth and enthusiasm. In the English class, the children participated, understood the instructions, and really enjoyed the activities. We also met two children who spoke an indigenous dialect. They had some difficulties with the Spanish, but the teacher made a great effort to help them. She used gestures, repeated instructions, and made sure they were part of the class. That was a real example of interculturality, not only accepting differences, but helping each child to succeed. Another difference we noticed was teamwork. In the primary school, teachers communicated with each other. They cared about the students and worked together. In the secondary school, we didn't see collaboration or shared planning. This experience helped us reflect on our role as a future English teachers. Teaching is not only about words or grammar, it's about people, emotions, context, and connection. We saw the place, the environment, and the teacher attitude can change everything. This is the beginning of our documentary. We want to share what we lived, what we learned, and what we believe. Because to teach well, we must first understand where we are and who we are teaching.
We visited a junior high school to observe the students. They were very active and talked a lot with their friends during recess. Some students were shy and sat alone, while others laughed and had fun together. Teenagers grow up fast. Many students were taller than us and had a lot of energy. We have realized that students have many feelings. They can be happy or sad. Friends are important to their emotions. In class, some students ask a lot of questions while others listen quietly. Teamwork helps them share ideas and learn together. We have seen that students learn best when they feel safe. Friends influence each other's decisions, such as what to wear or what music to listen to. Family is also important. Some parents help with homework and support their dreams.
Education is not just about giving information. It is about shaping people who can think critically, add weak purpose, and transform their reality. As future teachers, we have learned pedagogical thinking, and didactics are more than just ideas. They're powerful tools that help us teach with intention and meaning. Pedagogical thinking pushes us to ask important questions like why are we teaching this? What values are we promoting? What kind of people are we helping to shape? Didactic give us the strategies, methods, and classroom resources to turn those areas into real learning experiences. Through our stories, explore different pedagogical theories, and each one taught us something unique about how students learn. Behaviorist pedagogy focuses on repetition, practice, and positive reinforcement. For example, students practice multiplication with a timer and earn points for correct answers. It was fun and effective. Today, platforms like Kahoot and Duolingo use similar methods to keep motivation high. Human needs remind us to care for the whole student. Critical pedagogy connects school with society. Constructivism encourages creativity and student participation. As teachers, we must be flexible and always open to learning. Teaching with purpose means design meaningful learning experiences, and sometimes those experiences can truly change lives.
From a realistic and honest perspective, we had the opportunity to witness different situations that made us the importance of classroom management in English lessons. When we arrived in the classroom, the first thing we noticed was the teacher's lack of movement. She stayed seated at her desk the whole time, correcting all assignments, while students worked on exercises that were only written on the board. There was no explanation, no interaction, and no follow-up. The teacher didn't move from her place, and the group, without clear guidance, was restless, noisy, and uninterested. Some students did nothing. Others were shooting or walking around. It was clear that there was not classroom control and not effective management. On Wednesday and Thursday, the situation got worse. English teachers didn't come. We noticed that each group had a different personality, but one thing was the same. There was no structure and no adult to guide the class. But one thing was the same. There was no structure and no adult to guide the class. The students had no direction and were complete disconnect from any learning process. Finally, on Friday, the English teacher came back, but instead of teaching, she gave the students handwriting practice, which had nothing to do with the subject. Meanwhile, the students were distracted, talking to each other without interest or commitment. This observation clearly showed that poor classroom management not only affects the environment but also limits English learning in a serious way. Without organization, clear rules, or motivation, students disconnect. They lose interest, and their development in important skills like listening, speaking, reading, and writing is delayed. Also, when the teacher is not active in the classroom, the connection between teacher and students breaks. The teacher is no longer a guide, just someone who gives tasks without a purpose. This creates mechanical and meaningless learning for students. This experience helped us understand that classroom management is not just about keeping silence or giving orders. It is about creating an environment where students feel motivated, respect, and guided. It means having clear routines, teaching with purpose, and adapting to the group's needs. An English teacher who doesn't move, observe, listen, or communicate will hardly help students learn. That's why good classroom management is not optional, it's essential. Only can we create active classrooms with real, meaningful, and lasting learning.
A solid lesson plan helps guide the class and keep things organized. At the very least, it should include basic information, goals or expected learning outcomes, student profile and context, possible issues and how to handle them, content and topics, material and resources, activity sequence, method, evaluation, and feedback. All these parts matter because they make sure the class runs smoothly, with clear goals and meaningful activities. Each part of the lesson has an important role. The leading is meant to get students interested and bring up what they already know. It's where you grab their attention and introduce the topic in a fun or engaging way that connects to their lives. The main part of the lesson is where you explain and give examples of new stuff and get students to practice their language skills. You wanna create learning situations where they can work together and be creative. It's important to mix controlled practice with communicative tasks, so they get both guided and independent practice. Then, at the end, there's the wrap up, where you check if the goals were met and give feedback. You go over what was learned, maybe draw some conclusions, and do a final assessment to see how much they got out of the lesson. Every stage has to be planned carefully. For example, if you skip the lead-in, you might lose students' interest, and if you don't give any feedback at the end, you miss a chance to help them really look in what they learned. During our observation practice, we noticed most of the classes had a pretty traditional vibe. Teachers mostly explain grammar rules and give students reading and writing exercise. In the second week, we saw a few small changes. The teacher tried adding some pronunciation activities. One example was an activity where the students made letter cards and the teacher spelled out action verbs. The students had to listen and use their cards to build the word they heard. It kind of leaned toward a communicative approach, but still had some limits. The communicative approach is all about learning through meaningful interaction, understanding stuff in context, and actually using the language. That activity had an implicit communicative goal. Even though there wasn't a full-on conversation, students had to listen to the letters, audio input, and respond by making the words, physical linguistic output. It's like a real-life listening skill. But still, the activity was pretty controlled. The teacher ran the whole thing, and the students just followed directions. That's more of a behaviorist method. Teacher leads, students respond. There wasn't really a proper leading or structured wrap-up with feedback. Classes just started without any motivating activity. Sometimes they used notebooks just to review all the stuff, and the topic would be introduced out of nowhere. Same thing at the end, no checking on what they learned, no clear feedback. The teacher only used worksheets and the whiteboard. She didn't use another material or ticks. Also, she didn't use gestures or miming to help with understanding. Pronunciation was only worked on incidentally. Like if a student mispronounced something, the teacher corrected it real quick. There wasn't a session focused on phonetics. In short, interaction was mostly teacher to student, through presentations and writing exercise, not really a communicative model. But we noticed that the teacher knew her students well, very well, and used that information to plan. She knew who got distracted and placed them where they'd stayed more focused. She also knew that one student in the group had autism, for whom she designed special activities, adapting the lesson to these needs. This aligns with the idea of anticipating potential learning problems and offering solutions.